Esto es la conciencia cósmica.
Esta es una nota post-edición. Siendo que el idioma de Sasha no es el español, la conversación se sostuvo en inglés principalmente. Si lo quieren escuchar o ver en español, vayan a nuestro canal de YouTube, @homocósmico, donde podrán ver el video con subtítulos en español.
This confusion around sex that we have based on all these different things that I shared and some other ones that I didn't share. But all of these things put together is the perfect recipe for creating a slave culture. Because the best way to control people is to keep them disempowered. And sex, in its natural sense, is a healing modality and a tool for empowerment. Sexually liberated people can never be controlled. So not only is this happening by, the fact that it's just we're taking all these ingredients and making a soup out of them, but who put the ingredients there? Why are they there? Because they're there with intention. They are there specifically to make sure that you don't have access to the thing that will empower you, make you be more intelligent, make you be more integrous with yourself, in alignment with spirit, and start to change this slave culture that we live in today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they take that away from us so they can sell it to us, right? Mm-hmm. In stuff that isn't really going to cover that up.
So you had asked, how does somebody start to unravel all of that? Well, as I always say, you don't have to fight the darkness, you have to fight the light. If you walk into a dark room, you don't have to figure out how to get rid of the darkness or what to do with the darkness, you just turn on the light. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to people that are watching porn, doing these things that are really pulling them away from naturally connecting to the body, don't be harsh with yourself around these things, although I do feel that some discipline at first is necessary. Mm-hmm. It's just like any addiction, there's two parts to it. One is that you want to tell yourself, okay, I'm going to go on this fast, whether it's a drug fast, a junk food fast, or whether it's a porn fast. But at the same time as you're doing that, you want to nourish the things that make you happy. So what do I mean by that? You don't have to fight yourself watching porn, but you need to start making more connections with real humans, because there's nothing more beautiful than the human connection, than actual touch, than actual intimacy, actual conversation. It's irreplaceable. So as you discipline yourself a little bit to say, hey, I'm gonna not give my energy, not give my life force to feeding, as funny as it sounds, these dark forces. I'm gonna give my life force and my energy to feeding what is beautiful in our existence. What is love? What is connection? What is intimacy? What is human?
What is your opinion about the relevance of substances that have become very common, like alcohol, misused tobacco or drugs in this context? I mean, they really numb even more our capacity of feeling. How does this relate with this enslavement?
Well, again, we're looking at all the ways that we escape, and you can never, ever, ever escape yourself. You might think you're doing it for a while, but it will always catch up to you. And it will catch up to you because you realize that it's not helping, and you still feel empty, and there's still something missing in life. And for some people, it even catches up because of a disease, because something really slaps them in the face, and spirit says, you can no longer keep doing this the way that you are. So because people have so much anxiety, so much trauma, social anxiety around human connection, they sometimes feel like, I need to drink to really leave myself a little bit so I can even not care enough to actually have a conversation with this woman. Meaning, if I'm really sober, all I feel is my anxiety, my insecurities, my fears. So again, all these escapisms. And for me, what is fascinating is how our escapisms are harmful to our health. Alcohol is poison. Tobacco smoke is poison. in whatever degree. I mean, some people may argue with me around natural tobacco coming from these shamanic, natural, communities, spiritual communities. But the point is your body wants fresh air. It wants clean water. It wants natural foods. So we're not only doing escapism, we're hurting ourselves. And when it comes to connection, when we're under the influence, this is going to get very deep. And some people may think I'm, way outside of what you want this podcast to be about. But we are not the only spirits in this existence. This is not just what we see. There are other spirits that are unseen to our eyes. So when we go into certain vibrations, when we use certain substances that lower our vibration, we now resonate in the dimensions where other spirits exist and can have access to us and navigate and control us outside of our own desires. So you're not really having sex with a drunk woman, you're having sex with a drunk woman and possibly some other spirits and energies that are very present and roaming around you, impacting the quality of what you're building, generating, and creating. It's not something to play around with. So it goes much deeper than just, am I happy, am I sad, is this a good connection or not? We're literally living in a world where there's dark forces and light forces. And what are you feeding? What are you giving your energy to? And everything is based on vibration. So when you vibrate higher, you allow for those spirits that vibrate higher to be your support, to be your guiding force, to be your protectors. And when you vibrate lower,
you feed them.
You give access to these negative forces to also, I'm going to say support, but it's not that they're supporting you, they're supporting the dark forces, using you, using your divinity, using your light, because you have given your light up to these forces.
Regarding these forces that, how do you resist these forces that want to feed on sexual energy and on misguided sexual energy? How do you resist them and how do you fight them back?
Very good question. And it's as simple as being in good character. Anytime that you make a decision to support something of the higher, and what I mean by the higher, compassion, patience, love, gratitude, those are all high vibratory states, energies. They don't have access to you in those states. It's like there's different planes of existence. And each one of those planes have different frequencies and energies. Where you vibrating is the world that you are living in. And it's also interesting because a lot of people that are not in the best character, they will oftentimes have very negative experiences in their life. And people that are more committed to love, to gratitude, to being in integrity, they may say they have beautiful experiences in their life. So what reality are you wanting to play in? What reality are you committing yourself to? So in regards to that, those energies are always going to be there. It's just like in Star Wars, you've got the light and you got the dark.
Like in the jungle.
Like in the jungle, exactly. So those energies are there. You as a divine consciousness have a choice what you want to give your divine life force to. And that happens moment by moment with all the decisions that we make. The decision of what we choose to watch on Netflix even. I'm talking about minute, day-to-day things. It's not only about these big decisions. It's your day-to-day. How do you choose to interact with strangers on the street? How do you drive through traffic? How do you choose to be grateful or ungrateful about something? How do you react to somebody disrespecting you? Do you get angry and hurt them back? Or do you see the pain in that individual and be compassionate about it? So this is how we protect ourselves. It's right before I did the ayahuasca retreat with you. I had done a peyote ceremony.
Oh, I just did
And it was my first and only time. In fact, the ayahuasca retreat was my first and only time as well. But in that peyote experience, I viewed the most disgusting, horrific things that have ever happened on the planet for hours. And in the midst of all of that, I loved on every one of those experiences. Now, what does that mean? People are going to think, what do you mean you shouldn't love horrible things that happen on the planet? It was like accepting what is, because love is the only thing that transmutes the lower to the higher. And what I came out of, in fact, my intention for that ceremony, when at the beginning of the ceremony, we, write the intention. Mine was, how do you live fearlessly in the world? That's what I wanted to know. And that's what it showed me. That in the midst of ugliness in the world, your only protection is being love. That's it. So when you ask yourself, how do you protect yourself from these dark energies? How do you interact to make sure that you're not controlled by them? Be love. Be love in every action that you have the capacity to be love in day to day. And sometimes it might be once a day, and then it'll expand. That you can have the capacity inside to be more loving and more loving and more loving. So then you are a representation of love embodied on the planet, and there's no greater protection than that.
Yeah, it happened to me similar in a peyote ceremony. I had these visions of these like similar horrible things, not as horrible, but these definitely lower vibration things. And I felt compassion towards them because I knew that they're not evil, they just want food, and maybe their food is my energy. But the better food, the most nutritious food, better even than my fear towards them, is my unconditional love towards them, So just a gram of unconditional love, if you could measure it, it's weights more and it's more healthy for them than 1 kilogram of fear energy,
Yes.
And
nothing stands against love. There is nothing more powerful than that energy. So when those, if we call them dark forces, when they get a grasp on us, they do that because we allow it.
Yeah.
But the moment that we choose, exactly, they're feeding. And the moment that we choose to love, to be love in our the way we speak and the way we walk and the way we act, when we are love, they've got nothing on us.
Yeah, maybe we even change them, because love, I believe, is completely, it's like the sun. It's abundant. There's for everyone. So if you choose to love, you don't get less love. It's not something that finishes. You can feed the whole world on love, right? And it's never ending. And I wanted to ask you, how is your therapy? How do you heal? How do you address these problems through your therapies, through your healing sessions?
Well, for the average person, and when I say the average person, I'm really speaking about every single human being that I have come across to this day. Are you
more focused in men or women?
When I first started doing this work, I worked exclusively with men for 8 years. Okay. I've been doing this work, I believe, for 12, maybe more than 12, 13 years. So after 8 years, I opened up the work to women as well, just because they were chasing me down. They were signing up to my newsletter, and the website was for men, the services, everything was for men, and they were still signing up, asking for sessions. And I thought, wow, that's fascinating, because there's really nothing here for women. So I gave in at some point, and it's been really beautiful to work with women as well. So I now work with both, and every single human that I have come across to this day is dealing with the same challenges. And those same challenges is that we carry so much garbage in our bodies. And that garbage, insecurities, false beliefs about ourselves, the trauma, the unprocessed feelings, it's like all these things that we collect over a lifetime, they block us from living a beautiful life. Whether it's having beautiful relationships, whether it's getting a job promotion, living in abundance, having great relationships, it's like everything is a reflection of what's going on internally inside of you. And what goes on internally inside of most people's bodies is chaos. So I use a specific style of energy work which uses orgasmic energy to open the body and to release this garbage. And so what happens for people is that as they clear out all this garbage, now they can connect deeper in sex. Now people perceive them differently. Now they get a job promotion. It's everything in their life starts to flow because their internal body, their life force is now flowing and allowing for them to have a closer connection to their spirit. And the way that it all happens is through bringing orgasmicness into the body. So definitely people experience an emotional release, but they also experience ecstatic, orgasmic, full body orgasm states, which they didn't even know were possible, but that are totally natural to the human body.
Even for men?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's natural to the human body. You know, I have many years ago, I used to do a lot of demonstrations of this body work for people, like for groups. And I did one, and a friend of mine happened to film it. And because we had the video, I thought, okay, I'll just throw it up on YouTube, random.
On YouTube? Is it still?
Yeah, it's called Man's Full Body Orgasm. I think it's called Man's Full Body Orgasm, yeah. And I haven't checked it in a long time, but I know it has over 3 million views. And most of the comments were all saying, this is fake, this is bullshit, I wonder how much you paid the actors, totally discrediting the whole thing. So much so that eventually I just disabled the thumbs up and thumbs down because people discredit the whole thing. And it was fascinating for me because this is my life, and I live a very quiet life. I don't watch a lot of media stuff or anything like that. So for me, it's natural. And when I saw the comments, it really gave me an understanding of what's going on in the world. And that is that something so natural seems so supernatural because we are so far from experiencing our potential in this very natural, orgasmic way, which is just what the body was made to do and experience.
What's a full body orgasm? I mean, beyond the obvious, or is it just the obvious?
I don't know. I don't know how you would define it, so I don't know what you think the obvious is.
The literal meaning would be feeling the sensation of an orgasm in all the cells of your body. Is that it?
Exactly. Precisely. I'm actually amazed that you came up with that definition because most people have no idea what it feels like. But it's, when we think about a genital orgasm, most people would describe it as, I feel a lot of energy generated there and then it explodes. So if you were to take the intensity of energy that's in your genitals and now you spread it out through your whole body, you're feeling a lot of intensity of energy in your whole body. Now sometimes when they see a demo, they'll be like, oh, but he didn't ejaculate. Well, that's not what orgasmicness is. Orgasmicness is that intensity of energy and that flow of energy now moving through the body. It doesn't have anything to do with ejaculation. And there's some men that ejaculate but don't even orgasm. Because that process of orgasm and ejaculation is actually 2 different processes, even though for many people they're linked together.
And so your energy work is able of producing that? Yes,
and why is that so healing? Whether you experience it through energy work, such as the one I do, whether you experience it through some other practice or meditation, and of course in sex, it's a healing modality because energy purifies the body. So when you have an experience that generates a lot of energy, and all that energy can flow through every crevice of your body, it's going to push out on all these things that I mentioned, your unprocessed feelings, the false belief patterns, the trauma. I work with a lot of trauma victims. And when I say trauma, I'm talking about, it could be emotional, it could be physical from an accident, and sexual trauma, and just deep, intense, whether it's sexual trauma, physical abuse, just really horrific things that the memory of those experiences gets stuck in the body and affects how you think and perceive the world. Because think about it, when you drink alcohol, you put it in your body and it affects how you think. So when we have these traumas that aren't processed, they sit in our body and they affect how we think. So when you start to uninstall and unplug the traumas, the programming, the conditioning, just societal conditioning is a virus in this biocomputer. So when you start to uninstall those things, so now you have access to yourself. You have access to the spirit that came here for the experience that it came to have in this lifetime. That should be your navigating force. Not society's conditionings, not your fears, not your traumas, not your false belief patterns, but the divine spirit that resides in you. That should be what moves you and supports you and navigates life for you. And when you think about toddlers, babies, they're so happy to be alive. Before all of society and all of, life's experiences twist them into being these miserable, unhappy, insecure individuals, little kids, babies, children, and I'm saying children because even past 5 years old, you already start to see their patterns of conditioning. But when they're small, they love being alive. I oftentimes say that children are some of the most orgasmic beings on this planet because they are overjoyed to feel rain, to walk through grass, to chase after a butterfly. They're just overjoyed to be alive. They laugh for no reason. They truly have joy. It's hard to even meet adults that can laugh authentically. Laugh with a belly laugh like a child would. That's what we want to get back to, is our nature, our essence of what it means to be alive as this divine human being before we got bombarded with garbage that we then carry for a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And so full body orgasms are the generating of this energy that purges out all the garbage.
Who taught you this energy technique? And I'm having a hard time to visualize it. I mean, it's like you go through your hands like in Reiki.
Well, energy's energy, and I guess there's a different way to work with it, and all energies have a different frequency, so it's about what you put out. And so, as I said, the energy that I put out is orgasmic energy. And as you say, the way that I work is quite different depending on the setting. So if I'm working in a private bodywork session, and what you'll see in the videos like on YouTube, it is a hands-on body work, but it's an energy work. So when I have hands on a person's body, I'm not manipulating tissue, it's not like a massage, it's the energy coming off my hands. But I will touch a human body because we are starving for touch. Sometimes I'll even work with couples, and when I work with a man or a woman from a couple, sometimes I feel like this person has never been touched before. Now, what do I mean by that? They're married, they touch all the time, but present touch, it's like we're starving to be felt. We're starving to have presence in a touch. So that in itself is already very healing. And then the energy work, of course, is the true healer in it. So sometimes I work without touch, as you see in the video. Sometimes it's energy work with touch. But then I also do workshops. In fact, I have a workshop coming up on Valentine's weekend in Mexico City.
Wow, for women and men?
Yes, yes. Good. And so much of the focus is around all these things that me and you have talked about.
Where can people find it?
On my website.
What is your website?
SashaCobra.com. SashaCobra.com. All the registration's open. It's half full now, so it's, if people want to come, they need to kind of jump on it. So in the workshops, I work with energy without even using my hands, right? Because in the energy world, there is no time and space. So it really doesn't matter if you're working with one person or many. So in the workshops, you can have, a room full of 30, 40. Sometimes I've done workshops where there's 80 people, and they're all in this experience, and they're all in these orgasmic experiences by themselves on these yoga mats.
Wow.
And I'm not walking up to all of them and touching them. And then, of course, I do also phone sessions because I travel so much. So a lot of the clients that I have are in different parts of the world, and so I'll do energy work by phone. And again, there is no time and space, so they have very profound, very intense experiences from anywhere in the world.
And do you teach?
Mm-hmm.
Not in a workshop as a patient, but do you teach as he taught you?
The thing is that it's very difficult to teach. It's very difficult to teach this body of work because it's not something that is in some way teachable, and here's why. It's learning about life. It's learning about how you function. The energy work is easy. In fact, in the workshops people pair up and I will share a few things and then they work on each other. So playing with energy and stuff like that, that's easy. But the work is so much more than the energy work. The work is understanding people's psyches, understanding how to process trauma, understanding how people relate, process, and deal with information. It's to train somebody in that, they literally would have to spend a lot of time with you, just watching you, conversing with you, watching how you work with people. It's not something that just, you can read in a book or teach, because you have to understand life. And you can't understand life by taking a 12-week course and getting a certification. I never quite understood that, how people do these kind of certification programs, unless it's for things that are quite basic,
Yeah, like yoga.
Yeah, because then you're learning exercises. But this work is about understanding life. If you don't understand yourself, the greatest training is training yourself, being in life. There's so many people that come to me and they are having serious issues. They don't even know how to communicate with somebody of the opposite sex or even somebody of the same sex. They're lacking in basic human understandings, and yet they want to help people. I had a man that was in his, I want to say he was like 50 something in his 50s, virgin, never had sex, but he asked me to train him how to work with women to help them with their sexuality. Just the mentality of that, I don't understand. How can you possibly help somebody do something that you don't even know how to do yourself? So, to be honest, some of the people that come to me and ask me to be trained, in fact, I think all the people that have ever asked me to be trained, I feel that are in no way even close to being in a place to help others. And the people that never ask me, that actually come to me as clients and do their work, and really do their work, I think sometimes, this would be a good person to do this work, potentially, if they wanted to when they're ready. And that's how I got into it. I never got into it wanting to do this work. I just had a lot of interest in spirituality, sexuality. I was learning things while trying to do something totally different with my life. And I got into this work because when people were going to see this man, I started doing a few things, having conversations with them, and next thing I know, their friends were calling me saying like, oh, my friend had a session with you, can I have one too? And I was like, I didn't even know I was doing sessions, but hey, if you want to pay me for a conversation, okay. And it was just one after the other, and through word of mouth. When was that? That was around, I want to say 2007. Yeah, so it's been about 12, 13 years. Wow. Yeah. And so it just kind of, through word of mouth, people kept coming, and then at one point I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this, I'll make a website, But it wasn't something that I said, I want to do this. I feel that with every vocation that we have, one is not better than the other, Sometimes I feel like, it's kind of a joke, but I think like, I would love to sing. I wish I could sing. I wish I could be good at singing.
Yeah, but it's not for you.
But it's not what I came here to do. And I feel like a lot of people have these incredible talents, incredible skills, and because they come so naturally to them, they disregard their own natural talents and say, I want to do this other thing, Para mí, yo quiero saber que a ti te interesa, que es como algo muy personal. ¿Qué es lo que buscas para tu vida?
¿Para mi vida?
Sí. Digo, ¿cómo puedo ayudar a ti a través de esa entrevista? De cualquier manera. ¿Qué es algo que realmente o puedes sacar de esa entrevista para usar para ti.